Is there anything more satisfying than opening a new container of butter or coffee? Here we go. One, two, three. Oh. That was a bit disappointing. You know, the world of English is a fun and exciting place to be. I'm so glad you could join me for another lesson. Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? I hope so. In today's lesson, we are going to look at one of the most fascinating processes to take place in the human body. The thing that helps to make all of us the individuals we are. The place where the experiences we have had and the knowledge we have acquired is stored. It is something that even now we do not fully understand. In today's lesson, we will be discussing the human memory. The important things we do and see stay in the memories of you and me. The moments from our childhood remain precious and treasured. The limit of the memory cannot be measured. As we make our way through this life with all of its joy and pain, those happy memories long since gone in time will make us smile again and again. The word memory is a noun that defines the place where information is stored. Memory can also be the thing that is being remembered. A memory of something is stored in the memory. The action of remembering involves retrieving the information from the memory. Computers have memory, as do humans, although the way they are designed and operate is not quite the same. A stored memory can be anything. Your first kiss, the first time you ever rode a bike, the day your pet goldfish died. All of these significant memories are stored away somewhere up here. If I were to ask you to recall your first day at school or university, there is a good chance that you will remember quite a few details of it. However, if I were to ask you to tell me what you had for lunch on this day 2 weeks ago, it is more than likely that you will have no memory of that particular meal at all. This is because your memory tends to contain things that are significant and useful. It would be hard to talk about memory without mentioning the place where all the information is stored. The brain. The brain serves many purposes. It processes information from the sensory organs, such as the eyes and ears. It controls movement. It allows us to feel via millions of nerve strands that run through the entire body. The brain controls our breathing and heartbeat without us even being aware of it. All of these functions are controlled by certain parts of the brain. Each part is called a region. When it comes to storing and retrieving information, there is not just one region of the brain responsible for this. It would appear that different regions of the brain collect certain types of information. It is believed that certain types of food are good and bad for the brain. Fatty foods have been linked to certain types of psychological disorder, such as depression. Sugar is good for the brain, but the exact amount is not very clear, as the levels vary over a period of time. Natural oils, such as the ones found in fish, are also supposed to be good for your brain. Did you know that eating a banana every day can also help to keep your brain ticking over nicely? The word remember can be quite confusing. It can mean something that is being recalled from the memory, or it can mean the action of placing some information into the memory. So remembering involves putting information into the memory and retrieving information from it. Learning is a form of remembering, whether you are learning about a subject in school or trying to master a practical skill, such as driving a car. By doing these things, you are both learning and remembering. In my previous lesson, I talked about our senses. I also mentioned the fact that the things we sense, such as light and sound, create information which is stored in the memory. When we see or hear something, the information created passes through the brain. It is then filtered so as to decide whether the information is important enough to be stored permanently. This system prevents the brain from becoming too cluttered with unimportant or useless information. There are many similarities between the way in which the human brain stores information and the computer sitting in front of you now. In computer terms, stored information is called data. A computer stores data electronically in its memory. The brain transmits and stores information in the form of electricity and chemicals. When a piece of information is transmitted in the brain, an electrical pulse travels along a nerve and fires across a gap to a cell. The gap is called a synapse. There are trillions of these synapses in the human brain. The signal carrying the information is then transferred chemically where it attaches itself to the cell. One single brain cell can have thousands of these synaptic connections. The number of cells contained in the brain is constantly changing. As you learn new things, then new cells are created to store the information in. As amazing as it may sound, it is actually possible to change the structure of your brain by learning new things. Recently, it was discovered that even by carrying out a daily task in a slightly different way, it is possible to stimulate the growth of new brain cells. By using your memory, you are retrieving information that is stored in the brain cells. You are consciously searching for the information. You are recalling an event from your past. You are thinking about something. You are reminiscing. You recall. You think. You recollect. You reminisce. You remember. The action of visualizing something in the mind requires the memories stored in the brain to be available. If you were to think of a tree, then the shape, colour, and all the other information connected with that image is retrieved from the memory. The bits of information needed to form the image are stored in different parts of the brain. This process seems slow, but the brain is able to carry out this action almost instantaneously. How these vivid images are formed in the mind is still a mystery. The action of placing information into the memory is not as easy as it might seem. As I have mentioned already, we do not remember every single thing we have experienced. Sometimes getting that new piece of information to stay in the brain is not easy. The age of a person is a significant factor in this process, in that the brain of a child is like a sponge, able to soak up and remember things very easily, while the brain of someone who is much older might find it difficult to keep the information stored and locked in. Losing the ability to remember things is no fun. Of course, there are ways to slow down this decline. The phrase, "you are never too old to learn," is an important one, as it helps to remind us that even though we are all getting older, there is no need to stop learning new things. We learn through experience and education. These things act like a physical exercise for the brain. So, whether you are 6 or 60, it is possible to keep the brain active and absorbent. There are many things that can affect the memory of a person. Certain types of drugs, both legal and illegal, can affect the memory. A head injury can cause brain damage and memory loss. Drinking alcohol can affect your memory. A person who drinks heavily damages not only their liver, but also their brain cells as well. Certain illnesses affect the memory. Dementia or Alzheimer's causes severe memory loss, to the point where the sufferer will not be able to recognise their husband, wife, partner, or even members of their own family. It would appear that the memory is split up into different categories. Put simply, we have two types of memory: long-term and short-term. As their names suggest, one is for storing information for a long time, while the other keeps it for a short time. That is the reason why you can still remember the first person you ever fell in love with, but not what you had for lunch last Saturday. One is a significant and important event, while the other is mundane and routine. That particular memory is insignificant and not worth remembering. Of course, not all of our stored memories are happy ones. In fact, some people might say that they recall the bad moments of their past more easily than the good ones. A terrible event or a distressing occurrence can have a profound impact on the way we think. A traumatic event not only blemishes your memory, it can also affect your character. Stress and anxiety are both common side effects of going through a terrible ordeal. So while our memory gives us the ability to remember the good things, it also stores many of the things we would much rather forget. It is possible to misremember things. Sometimes we add parts to a memory so as to give it more form. Just because you remember an event does not necessarily mean that's how it actually occurred. It could be an inaccurate memory. Your memory can play tricks on you. Childhood memories tend to be made up of fleeting moments and small events that play in the mind like a short video clip. These distant memories can be happy or sad, good or bad. There is a phrase in English, a walk down memory lane. This phrase means that you are spending some time thinking or talking about past events. We spent the whole afternoon down memory lane talking about our school days. You might invite a person to take a stroll down memory lane. This means that you want to talk to them about their past. Sometimes it is nice to take a walk down memory lane. The action of fondly remembering past events can be described as being nostalgic. A nostalgic moment. You are being nostalgic about something. You long for that time to return. The way something was done in the past, or an attitude towards something which no longer exists. You reflect over days gone by. Nostalgia is the noun that names this action. Items that you bought or were given to you many years ago can help you remember a past event. A souvenir you bought during a past holiday or a present given to you on your wedding day can help to keep that time fresh in the memory. We can describe these items as memorabilia. I don't know about you, but I'm always forgetting things. Sometimes I will walk into one of the rooms in my house and forget why I went in there. I often forget the names of people. In fact, that is a really big weakness of mine. I'm hopeless at remembering names. Also, I can remember many events from years ago, but have difficulty recalling what I did last weekend. There are ways to help yourself remember something you must do later. You can set an alarm on your mobile phone to remind you. You can write the thing down in your diary for future reference. You can tie something to your finger like a piece of string, so when you see the string, you will hopefully remember the task you must do or the place you should be at. I sometimes forget tasks while I'm actually doing them. In the past, I have forgotten that I have something cooking on the stove in the kitchen, causing the food to burn and be ruined. Sometimes I am very forgetful. Perhaps it's my age. There are many exercises you can do to improve your memory. If you have trouble remembering the name of someone you have just met, then try repeating the name of that person in a conversation. The more you say it, the easier it will be to link the face with the name. When a new memory is created, it is called encoding. The action of learning involves encoding. That is how something you did not know before becomes something you do know now. There can be little doubt about the usefulness of repeating things when learning something new. Some people believe that getting students to repeat the same thing over and over is a bad method of teaching. Yes, it may be tedious and boring, but it is still a very effective way of locking that new information in the mind. Learning a new language involves some listening and some repetition. But it is not the only method used for picking up a new language. With steady daily practice involving reading, with a little repeating, it is possible to learn a few new words every day. We can describe a person who keeps on forgetting to do things as absent-minded. They often forget appointments, or they come back from the shops without the thing they went there for. An absent-minded person might keep losing things, such as gloves or keys. If we have a lot of things to think about, then we might become absent-minded. A person with a hectic or busy life cannot remember to do everything. They have too much on their plate. They are so busy they cannot think. If a person has trouble remembering things, then we might say that their brain is like a sieve. This means that the information goes into their brain and straight back out again, just like putting something through a sieve. I have a brain like a sieve. My brain is like a sieve. As I have already said, memory is also useful for carrying out a task of some sort. Perhaps you are going to bake a cake. You will need to know how to do it. You may need a recipe book to help you remember what to do. Perhaps you already know how to carry out the task without any help. We can say that you have remembered it by heart. Doing something by heart means that you can remember how to do something without needing any help. He was able to sing the song by heart. She recited the poem by heart. All actors must learn to deliver their lines by heart. The opposite of remember is forget. If the information is in your memory, then you will be able to remember it. If the information has faded from your memory or disappeared completely, then you will not be able to remember it. The information has gone. You will not be able to recall it, even if you try to remember it. If this is the case, you can say, "My mind is a blank. It's gone. I can't remember. I haven't a clue. Search me." It is worth noting that despite all the things we know about how the brain stores memory, there are still many things we do not understand about it. The brain is such a complex thing that even our own brains cannot fully grasp the way in which it works. Perhaps in the future we will be able to unlock the secrets of just how the brain is able to do all the amazing things it does. Mankind will look back and remember the time when the human memory was still a mysterious thing. That time is now. The memories we have stored of past events are not all clear. Some are vague and distant. A distant memory is something you have almost forgotten about, something that happened long ago, or an unimportant event can become a distant memory. If the memory is clear, then it is a strong memory. You remember it vividly. Of course, it may still be inaccurate. Just because you remember something well does not mean that is how it actually occurred. What is your earliest memory? How far back does your memory go? It is a sad fact that as we go through life, we actually forget more things than we remember. This is because it is impossible to remember every single thing that has occurred. Of course, there are ways of making sure that events are remembered. You can write them down in a daily journal or diary. Photographing a special event helps to preserve the treasured moments contained within it forever. It is a great way of making sure that those precious memories never fade away. The word memory is a noun that defines the place where information is stored. Your memory tends to contain things that are significant and useful. The brain serves many purposes. Learning is a form of remembering. The important things we do and see stay in the memories of you and me, you and me, you and me, you and me. Sometimes it is nice to take a walk down memory lane. You and me, you and me, you and me, you and me. As we make our way through this life with all of its joy and pain, those happy memories, long since gone in time, will make us smile again and again. I hope you have enjoyed today's lesson and that it has added a few useful bits of information to your memory. Don't forget to join me again for another lesson very soon. This is Mr. Duncan in England, remembering to say thank you for watching me teaching you. And of course, oh yes, ta-ta for now.